Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to make a bird's eye button. This button is considered the earliest Dorset ring button, and being made of fabric, it's really useful as it can be washed. It's also very common for 18th century shirts. So let's get started. Before we get started, I thought it would be nice to show you some original bird's eye buttons. As you can see, they're very small and they're still quite different. This one has a larger hole than this one. The side profiles are a little bit different. And you've got a very fine thread being used. These are from different sources, but they're pretty similar in size, so that's, quite interesting as well. The thing is that they are individually handmade, and so don't beat yourself up if you have buttons that look a little bit different when you're working on them. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make the bird's eye button, the technique, but I'm going to be working larger and I'm going to be working in color so that you can see what's actually going on. You need, if you want to make these for a historical, you want an 18th century shirt button, you need to work with very fine linen or cotton and a very fine linen or cotton thread. Beyond that, you want to get artistic and you want to do modern things and everything else, go right ahead. Use color, make big buttons. They're great buttons for all sorts of different purposes, especially because being fabric, they can be washed. So, so long as the materials you use can be washed, these can be washed, and they can even go in the dryer if your materials are right. Okay, so the first thing, we're going to start off with a piece of fabric. I'm going to be using our button template, the square one, just to trace out a square. So as I said, whatever size you need, there's no hard and fast rules because it's going to depend on the fabric, it's going to depend on the thread that you use, as well as the size that you start out with your square. And in actual fact, it's a triangle that we want anyway. So we start out with the square and work on. So, cut out a square. It may even be worth sort of doing a couple of sizes with your chosen fabric and keeping them in a sampler so that you know, going back to what size you want. And we're going to cut straight across the corner so that we've got a triangle. Now, what I do is use a little bit of water on my fingers, just so that I can dampen the end. Sorry, my light just went out. Let me put this on pause and sort out the light. Sorry about that, folks. Okay, so better dampen my fingers again. By doing this, I can grab hold of the end. I'm going with the long end of the fabric. And if you're using a cotton or a linen, if your fingers are a little damp, you can roll it quite well. You see, it's creating a nice roll. I'm going to roll this all of the way up as tidily as I can, but as I said, just get yourself used to what you're doing first. And that gives us a nice tube shape. Then you're going to need a stick or an awl. I'm going to use this little stick for this one. double pointed knitting needles work really well for a million different purposes in button making. I'm going to hold the end around the stick, and then I'm going to start to roll. Okay, so there's a disc shape. I'm going to slide the stick out, and you can see that there's a hole. It's quite a small one because I've used a very small stick for this, and it's a flat shape. I'm holding it steady. Now I've got a tapestry needle threaded up with cotton perle. I'm using a size 8, as I said, and I'm using a blue. I want you to be able to see what I'm doing. I'm going to come up through the central hole. I'm going to leave a tail, and now I'm going to wrap just back and forth through the central hole, pulling quite tight, because what I want to do is I want to really secure this roll up to create a nice firm shape. And by pulling and working it quite tight, you can get you can manipulate it a bit so that you have a flatter shape as well. And you'll go around this as many times as you need to make sure that everything is sort of secured in place. And you've got a nice firm shape. This bit that's sticking up now, just catch what I can. Don't worry about if you have a little piece that you just can't catch. Just trim it off at the end before you start with the decorative covering. I am pulling quite hard because what I want to do is I want to give this a bit of shape and flatten it out. But I also don't want, you see where you're getting a little bit of sort of bulging? I don't want that to be as obvious as that. So I will go back and put a few more in just to pull that into shape. Ooh. And make a nice tidy button shape. Let's see. I'll do one more there, I think. Now, the other thing that you can do is you can roll it around in your fingers a bit, just to make sure that you're happy with the shape and the roundness of it before you start covering. Now this initial beginning thread should have been more or less covered by your wraps, so go ahead and snip the end. So now we're going to start on the covering. I'm going to use the same thread. You could just wrap them all and set them up like this, fasten off the thread, and then use something slightly thicker. It's entirely up to you how you play this, whether you start a new thread or not. Either way, you want the thread to come up through the central hole. Take it over to the side and take your needle down through the central hole, okay? And then as you come up, you're catching the thread in that loop. So basically, you're creating a blanket stitch around this ring in exactly the same way as with a Dorset button around a metal ring. And you carry on, and the object is to get that ridge closer to the back of the button than to the front of the button, okay? You're filling up the spaces as you work. If you're using a if you're using a fine thread and you're making fine bird's eye buttons for costume, you'll get, you see, like here, there's the odd gap. That is absolutely fine and absolutely authentic. And of course, if you're working white on white, it won't even be noticed. But if you're covering with a color, try to get as close as you can. And then towards the end, I'll show you a little hint to cover up any extra spaces. So I'm going to carry on. You don't need to see me working blanket stitches all the way around. I'll be back in just a moment. So there we have it, very nearly covered. Now, a couple of things that I wanted to point out to you. First, I've left a few gaps along that side so that you can actually see a little trick that I've got for covering them. But if you're just making a historical one, before you fasten off, you can always use your nail to just adjust the placement of that ridge if you need to, so that it's closer to the bottom of the button. Take your thread through the first part of that ridge to finish, because that will close up that circle nicely. Otherwise you'll get a little gap. And then to finish, you can weave through the back and, if you like, put a knot. I'm not someone who believes that you should use whatever leftover thread from covering your button to sew on your button. It seems a little crazy to me, because then you go and cut a button off of a garment, the button can then unravel because you've used the same threads. And after all, our vintage buttons do not show that. So make the button complete, sew it on with separate thread. It's better all round. So if you do have gaps, the way that you can cover them, you know, if you're using a different color thread and you really want to, is to come up through the hole. I've used such a small stick, my hole is virtually closed up. Then you can place, see, the thread where you need it, go through the ridge, and then around, and then you can come back up through the hole. Just going to push that through with the help of the table instead of with the help of my finger, because that hole is so thin. And then I can do that again for the next section and carry on. Now, if you do find that you've used too small of a hole, a stick, and it is starting to fill up, the other thing that you can do is take an awl and carefully, so that you don't stab yourself, ease that through the hole, which will just widen it enough to help get your needle through. So I think I'll have about one more. That should do the trick, because I can always tweak around as well. Go through, maybe two more, just to get rid of that last little bit of white that's showing. And that helps you to get a nicely covered bird's eye if you're working in a different color. And so again, just straight down to the back, weave through a few times, and never hurts to work a little knot. What I like to do is, if I work a knot, I'll then weave through one more time so that the thread end is taken under, and often the knot is. And then you can trim that close. And so there's a nice little bird's eye button, well, a larger bird's eye button. And as I say, even after you've worked it, if you want to tweak it so that that ridge goes a little bit further down, then you certainly can. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you found this useful, and now I want to see lovely bird's eye buttons on all of your Georgian shirts, and on as many modern things as you can possibly think of. Do please hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.